Okay, in all seriousness, we're here in Syracuse. We came to look at like tiles and stones and countertops and everything along those lines, but one of the folks who watches the channel had mentioned that if I'm ever in Syracuse, because it's close to the Finger Lakes area, to come here to Found Things, because they said there's a really good plant selection in here. So since we're here, I thought we'd take a look. So let's go in. Okay, it's a little bit more tropical in here. One of the first things that I see, because I like my little titty pots. Look at this. Clay tits. How about that? Well, immediately I see these. So I'm so glad that like Serapedias and Discidias and all these other ones have started to become a little bit more popular. They don't obviously have flamboyant leaves as say like a Monstera, right? But I like these kind of underwhelming plants, you know, somebody might say, but I kind of like them because they could fit in between a lot of plants. These are called a string of needles, or I've seen ones that are a little bit thicker. So I think they're quite cool. And then these have become very interesting to folks. These are like these Begonia maculatas that have that nice silvery spots. And then on the undersides, you see that like really red, crimson red. These respond really well to be cutting back, or else they kind of get a little caney. And what I mean by caney is that they get those really long stems. Very beautiful. Here we go. These are Georgiananthus. This is one of the more robust Georgiananthuses I've seen. This is ciliatus. Look at the undersides, that purple. Beautiful, right? You can see that this is probably in the understories of rainforests, but look how thick this leaf is, and it's almost like a bluish green, right? With that little purple stripes in there. This is another one. I see folks who usually have this not out in the open, but in a terrarium. This is Begonia amphioxus. Kind of has a bit more of that frog skin, if you will, that kind of frog skin look with the little spots on that. Very characteristic of begonias. And this is gorgeous. This ficus. And it's variegated, but it has a really strong variegation to the point that some of these leaves are actually all yellow. And starts to develop some of those fruits. That's a beautiful specimen right there, I have to say. Oxalis, can't ever go wrong with the purple coloration here. You know, if you want a different color other than green, you know, having a spot of this is not so bad. Marantas, you have this one kind of Leucanura with the white veins, but then you have ones like this that are a bit more splotchy that don't have any kind of contrasting venation at all. This one has a white bottom. This one will also have a white bottom, but there's some that have that kind of pinkish or reddish bottom. Huh. This is something that I don't typically see. This one's called umbellata, Ficus umbellata. Haven't really seen that in the houseplant market. Not that I'm actually shopping for houseplants at the moment, but kind of gives you a different view of what you could go with. You know, this is, you know, more of your traditional Ficus laerata, and then this is the umbellata. Thinner leaf though, I would imagine it might be a little bit more of a challenging plant, but I don't know, I haven't tried it. What's interesting about it is that you see these little dots on the leaf right here. You see that? That's very similar to what you'd see, I think, on the underside of these leaves or on the tops of these leaves, you usually have some dots. This one looks, yeah, see these little dots right here on the edges? You might also think like, oh, that's stippling from like some kind of sucking pest, but no, that is natural that you would typically see on a ficus. That's both ficus, yeah. And then people would really enjoy this section. This has been quite a popular plant. I never was able to really successfully grow this in like a typical indoor environment. Cissus amazonica, beautiful plant, has that purple undersides, although this doesn't, you don't see the purple undersides as much. You see a faint hint, but it does get a deeper purple in some cases. I just don't see it here, maybe because it's under light. You see it more here on this one. I haven't grown it really successfully. I think it needs a little bit more humidity. Amazonica probably comes from a more humid environment. And then you see a lot of aroids here, shingling aroids. So you have a Rhaphidophora corthalsii. This one looks like a Hayei. And then you have the Monsteras, Monstera dubia, right here. And then you have some of the jewel orchids here. And then, of course, your little peperomias, which is, you know, one of my favorite genera of a nice assorted group of peperomias. And then we're getting into the high humid environment of the Anthuriums over here. If you could work past the gaseous stage, this looks like there's some crystallinums here. It's like through the mist. Has all the drama that comes with it. There you go. That's nice. This one looks like a forgetii. Let me see. Be gentle. Yeah, forgetii. It doesn't have it has a closed sinus up here. That's how you could tell. And look up here, billietiae. This one has typically would have the orange petioles. You don't really see it here. It's not that pronounced. This is quite young. Philodendron El Choco Red. This is their popular one at the moment. This is a pedatoradiatum in here. Pedatoradiatum. And then the El Choco Red. Philodendron. It's beautiful. Has a little bit more of that velveteen sheen. Everything looks so dramatic here, the billowing of the humidity. Monstera subpinnata. Now my experience with these is if you don't give them something to climb up on or something that they'd like to climb up on, they'll start to trail. They'll put out these trailers, and their leaves will get smaller and smaller until there's no leaves. And then all of a sudden you'll see, you know, this long stem kind of somewhere like under your bed or under your dresser, trying to find a place of like more light to grow up on. Here's an example of billietiae that has the orange petioles, as you'll see here. So this is a more mature one. Whoops. Nice. Melanochrysums. These have become people's favorites as well because of the velveteen leaves. So if you really took a look at on a cellular level of these plants, you would see that they have these more bolate cells that kind of give it this velveteen look that from, you know, when we're just looking at it, kind of looks more like velvet. But on a cellular level, it kind of makes it look like that. Dracaena. And you got here some of your black ZZ plants. Just did a repotting of these guys. And what I think is probably the perfect pot for one of these guys. Nice black ZZ. Had fun doing that. And we'll swing over here. Well, this is a great example of giving a plant something to grow up on, right? How about that? Because you want to get some more of that maturity of the leaves, especially in philodendrons like this. There's a lot of plasticity within the leaves, or heterophyly. So when they're young, in many cases, some of the philodendrons, their leaves look very different. And as they mature, they start to develop these like winged fenestrations. Same with a lot of monsteras. Okay, so we're going to get into the alocasias over here. Quite a lot of new alocasias since I've kind of, been exploring some of these places. This one's Alocasia mirror face sinuata. So all these different cultivars coming out. I don't know if you remember, but when we went to Singapore, I think, we started seeing a lot of these alocasias. It took a couple years for these to really make an impact or like actually make their way into the houseplant market here in the United States. This is the one that's been on the market for a while. Alocasia amazonica poly. That's quite a popular one. These to me are spider mite magnets. I've never been able to keep them really happy, but I know a lot of folks will bring them outside if they have the outdoor space, and if you have like a pest outbreak, good opportunity is to bring them outside. And this looks like a decursiva, Rhaphidophora decursiva. Yeah, right here. Not a bad price. These haven't developed really any of the fenestrations yet. I don't see any with the fenestrations, but this is a great example of plasticity in leaves. As this grows up, it'll start to develop those deeper fenestrations. Like this Monstera, it's starting to develop these deeper, bigger fenestrations on the way up. Of course, still everyone's pride and joy in their house is their Monstera deliciosas. Look at that new leaf right there. And then if you look behind you, look at that billietiae behind you, growing up. Yeah, you need the space. You need the space for these guys. It's like having a big dog in a small apartment. You want to be able to like give the big dog its space, right? This is a Monstera pinnapartita, starting to develop those fenestrations, as you can see. Whew, 400. Look how long these are. Syracuse woodii subspecies linearis. And look at all these little beautiful flowers. I actually had mine develop seed pods, believe it or not. So it definitely fooled around with some other Syracuse in my house. That's cute. Yeah, and all these little guys over here. We got some nice Hoyas, some macrophyllus variegatas, and some pubicalixes, and some, this is another macrophylla. And then these are carnosas, Aschenanthus marmorata. These have beautiful purple undersides. Gorgeous. Yep. Euphorbia terricalis. These are they're called fire sticks or pencil stick cactus. But you don't want to get their latex on you because that could cause damage of your eyes. Yeah, this is great. They have a really nice selection. And we didn't really come plant shopping. Came for tile and countertops and florists and stuff like that. But I was in the area, so I thought I'd stop by, and this is Found Things in Syracuse.